What's going on, YouTube peeps? Welcome back to another guide, this time of the girl who entered the world as a Herrscher, had an undying love for humanity. Elysia, the Herrscher of human ego. As the newest S ranker being added into the game, she brings a lot to the table in her own unique manner. In this video, we'll be covering Herrscher of Human's design and playstyle, and how to get the most out of her kit. Possible builds for her with both weapons and Stigmata, her rank ups, possible team comps, and a gameplay showcase. The footage used in this video is from the version 6.0 beta server, and any additional findings can be found in the pinned comment down below. So, be sure to check that out and leave a comment yourself. With all that out of the way, let's dive right into Elysia, the Herrscher of human ego. The one who learned to love humanity for all its faults and beauties, and was reborn from the memories of those she loved most. Elysia is the newest psychic ice DPS being added to the game, capable of dealing damage in large bursts. Her strength comes from a combination of charge attacks and weapon skills to deal damage and to prime the enemy when outside of her ultimate, and followed by switching to her ultimate to deal massive damage as a follow-up. For the purposes of this video, I'll be referring to her base form as human form and her burst form as origin form. Elysia's 4-sequence basic attack string Shattered Transient shoots arrows with her bow 4 times, shooting 2 arrows on her sequence 2, dealing progressively increasing ice damage. Elysia inherently deals 30% more total damage to mech-type enemies, meaning she'll shine in mech-rich content. In human form, her basic attacks grant 1 crystal ice mirror stack upon hit, to a maximum of 4 stacks. This stack provides iron body and reduces incoming damage by 50% at the cost of 1 stack. If no stacks are gained within 15 seconds or origin form is activated, all stacks are lost. Switching valkyries transfers all stacks to the incoming valkyrie as well. Throwing her charge attack Infinite Helix into the mix, holding the attack button allows Elysia to create a ballista that fires a pristine arrow that penetrates every enemy in its path, dealing a large amount of ice damage and inflicting 1 pristine seed stack, capped at 3. In addition, holding the button allows arrows to be fired continuously while moving. Upon hitting an enemy carrying a pristine seed, Elysia's total damage increases and she restores 0.5 SP. If an enemy granting a pristine seed is defeated, 35 HP is restored and 1 crystal ice mirror stack is granted in human form. Her ultimate, Radiant Destiny, costs 125 SP and sees Elysia don the robes of her Herrscher form. Upon activation, Elysia enters Stars of the Past, deals 500% of her attack as ice damage, inflicts pristine bloomage and 6 rhyme trauma. All skill timers and the stage timer are paused during casting of her ultimate and finisher. While Stars of the Past is in effect, Elysia restores 0.5 SP every second to every ice damage dealer on the team, inflicts 0.5 rhyme trauma on every enemy every second, increases damage from ice elves, causes ice damage dealing valkyries to deal extra damage, and enemies receive extra damage upon being frozen. Additionally, Elysia cannot be defeated while in origin form. In origin form, Elysia switches out her bow, choosing to wield her wondrous staff and changing her 4-sequence attack string. It's worth noting that in origin form, her sequence 2 and 3 fire off 8 and 4 homing projectiles respectively, each dealing single target ice damage. Additionally, Elysia's sequence 4 deals 200% of her attack as ice damage, and then an additional 200% of her attack as a dot effect. While in origin form, Elysia gains a Herrscher charge meter with a maximum of 400 charge. At max Herrscher charge, using charged attack allows Elysia to empty her Herrscher charge and summon the Spirit of Origin to attack. Elysia can follow this up immediately after by tapping her weapon active to cast Waltz of the Stars and summon the Spirit of Origin to attack again, dealing increased damage on subsequent uses. Hitting enemies with her charge attack resets Waltz of the Stars' cooldown, allowing for an immediate follow-up when used the second time before origin form ends. When on the field in origin form for over 5 seconds, tapping ultimate again or waiting until 17 seconds have passed casts her finisher, dealing more ice damage. If Elysia switched out in origin form, she still casts her finisher, but deals around 9% of the damage she would have dealt otherwise. Moving on to her ultimate evasion, Rising Starbeams, Elysia quickly dodges, evading all damage. When timed correctly, in human form, Elysia causes Global Time Fracture for 3 seconds. Within the next 10 seconds, the next charge attack shoots an enhanced pristine arrow and inflicts 3 pristine stacks. In origin form, this creates a starry vortex that pulls enemies in for 5 seconds. The sub-passive Moonlit Romance states that non-ultimate evasions can trigger the evasion skill. Additionally, Thunderless Serenity reduces the evasion cooldown by 4 seconds, increases charge attack speed in human form by 50%, and upon triggering evasion skill also grants 2 crystal ice mirror stacks. Her leader skill increases every ice damage battlesuit's initial SP by 50, increases the team's ice damage by 30%, and increases an additional 10% while Stars of the Past is in effect. Additionally, her QTE is triggered when enemies are frozen or time slowed and inflicts pristine bloomage and deals ice damage. If her evasion skill is not on cooldown, it is triggered. Within 20 seconds of QTE entry, total damage is increased by 15% as well. Finally, let's talk about her passive, Enlightened Salvation. This states that pristine seeds cap at 3, causing enemies to enter the pristine bloomage state for 2.5 seconds. In origin form, pristine bloomage lasts for 3.5 seconds instead, and additionally immobilizes enemies. Hitting enemies in the pristine bloomage state with weapon skill or special weapon skill triggers Eagle Blossom. In human form, this deals AoE ice damage and deals extra ice damage for each nearby enemy in the pristine bloomage state. 3 enemies can be registered at most and cancels their pristine bloomage state. In origin form, it deals more ice damage. When pristine bloomage ends, 1 pristine stack remains on target. Inflicting pristine seed again refreshes its duration. Now for Herrscher of Human Ego, all of her skills are relevant with her being a main DPS. And with all of her skills being upgradable asynchronously, just level each skill as the level ups unlock them. Now for her playstyle and typical damage rotation. Elysia's playstyle is fairly straightforward and intuitive. Her QTE typically leads her rotation when bringing her on the field for the damage increase. Most of her damage will come from holding down her charge attack and using her weapon active when the circle glows, with basic attacks periodically being thrown in to regain mirror stacks. After firing off all 3 weapon actives, activate ultimate and immediately follow up with her weapon active. Use basic attacks until the Herrscher gauge is full. Charge attack to expend the meter and follow it up with a weapon active as well. About 2 of these rotations in total will be possible to achieve before Elysia is forced to return to her human form. Now, patch 6.0 adds a brand new bow and Stigmata set primarily aimed towards Herrscher of Human. Let's begin with her bow and then talk about her Stigmata set as well. Her bow, Key of Ego, is the premier option for Herrscher Elysia and is the most highly recommended piece for her to pick up. To condense this giant wall of text, the Valkyrie equipped with this weapon has an increase to total damage. For Herrscher Elysia specifically, enemies that trigger Eagle Blossom take more damage for 10 seconds. Weapon skills increase total damage and restore SP upon hitting an enemy that triggered Eagle Blossom. The Priam exclusive skill sees another increased ice damage, and Herrscher Elysia's finisher's total damage is increased when origin form charge attacks hit enemies. For her Stigmata set, Elysia Pristine is of course the premier set for Herrscher Elysia. The T-piece increases total damage and weapon skills increase ice damage. Ranged ice damage in Herrscher form is increased as well. The M-piece increases ice damage, and while in Herrscher form, ranged ice damage is increased for 10 seconds when weapon skills hit. The B-piece increases ice damage and gives bonus total damage to ranged attacks. The 2-piece increases total damage in Herrscher form, and ranged ice damage increases for 10 seconds after 8 consecutive hits. Total damage received is decreased as well. The 3-piece reduces the weapon skill cooldown, increases ranged ice damage, and further increases ranged total damage. For captains that may not be able to get these items, here are some budget and free-to-play alternatives for you all. On the weapon side, Key of Domain and Key of Ego are the primary weapons to use for her, followed up by Cerulean Flash, Call of Crescent, and then any subsequent stat stick. As for the Stigmata sets, if you don't have her full gear, I would recommend towards Welt TM Nuke B, Ana set, but only if you're able to stay within close range due to Ana's damage falloff past 5 meters. Robert Perry, either full Scott set, Scott TM Shakespeare B, or Shigeru Akira B, or full Roald set. Nohime T can work, but requires the enemy to be frozen. Nohime M would be the best G1 option for the M piece as well. If you can't craft up to G2 Stigs yet, as Robert Perry is a G2 set, but are able to craft G1 Stigs, I would recommend personally Scott T, Nohime M, and Shakespeare B. Let's talk affixes now, aka the quote-unquote substats. Newer players, you guys can skip ahead to the next part of the video as affixes are something that you should not be focused on until endgame. As for her affixes, I'm sure you guys already know that we'll be wanting to go for psychic damage and or bow damage up, primarily followed by raw attack. Currently in 6.0, Elysia does see some SP issues, so it might be slightly warranted for one roll of SP regen on one of her pieces. But as we know in 6.1, Li Sushang is being added, which should more than likely solve Herrscher Elysia's SP issues that currently present themselves due to her high cost ultimate. As with each new Valkyrie that comes out that's non-SP Valk, they become subject to the new rank up system that's akin to the Constellation system from Genshin. However, these rank ups don't necessarily follow a similar structure, but what we can expect is S1 being a damage skill increase, S2 being either a damage buff or SP regen buff, S3 buffing leader skill, double S buffing damage, or SP regen depending on S2, double S1 buffing damage, double S2 being a quality of life buff, double S3 being another leader skill buff, and triple S being a very large damage buff. More often than not, this holds true, and for Herrscher Elysia, this is the same as well. Her S1 increases Elemental Breach in both of her forms. S2 sees enemies receive increased damage, an SP regen increase, and an HP regen increase as well. S3, of course, is her leader skill buff. S0 sees a charge attack damage increase, as well as a time fracture duration increase. S1 increases her charge attack damage, and also increases her ultimate finisher damage. S2 sees a total damage increase, and increases ice damage dealt as well. S3 is her second and final leader skill buff, and S is a large damage buff after using her ultimate evasion skill. Now, let's talk some team comps. In the current version of the game, version 6.0, we don't have access quite yet to Li Sushang, who will undoubtedly be Herrscher of Human Ego's premier support. So currently, what we can use is Hacksher Bunny, part of Ellis, a BD holder such as Himeko, holding the weapon Blood Dance to increase elemental damage, and as far as Fuhuas are concerned, Azure Imperia, who as we know is the premier general elemental damage support. Now, let's showcase some of the gameplay. I'll be using some of the comps I talked about to show off Herrscher of Human Ego Elysia. Note that I'll be using S0 Elysia for all of this, and I'll be using full gear on her. So she'll be at somewhat max power, not quite, but still be able to deal a really decent amount of damage. In addition, I'll be using the new elf, Elf Elysia, as she is the prime elf support to aid Elysia in dealing her ice damage. Note that elves are not as important, but specifically since Elysia does buff ice elf damage, you can use Elf Elysia, Water's Edge, and even Selûne's Elegy, as they are ice damage dealing elves and will receive the buff from Elysia's skills. Without further ado, let's cue that music and get right into the gameplay.
Let it burn, let it burn.
「君の
And so that's about it. So what are my thoughts on Herrscher Elysia? I personally think that she's a fantastic addition to the Psychic roster and the Ice roster on top of it. The game certainly is not lacking in terms of ice supports such as fire, as you guys already know, of course, from my V guide. However, she does have some SP issues, but those will more than likely be resolved within patch 6.1 when Lee Sushang comes to the game as the next premier ice support. Herrscher Elysia brings a smile to my face, and not just her power, but also her personality and everything about her with the story. It broke my heart to see her go. Good luck to all of you summoning for Herrscher Elysia. I hope all of you Elysia wanters become Elysia havers. With all that said and done, I just want to thank you guys for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed, please drop a like and also subscribe to the YouTube channel, as it's the easiest way and freest way to show support. Without further ado, thank you guys again for everything. Thank you, Elysia, and the 13 Flame Chasers for everything. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one, friends.
Oh,